Wow. So we are now in part three of the LUO series, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I mean, time went on. I think that things got real when we moved to the call center building, which, if I'm not mistaken, was actually a shorter trip. I actually remember I moved to a second apartment. Literally the same apartment I'm in now. Me and my roommate. This is our fourth year here, so the new apartment definitely a step up from the first one. And have a different roommate from when I had the first apartment with, because the first apartment was like a last minute, like, okay, this is the only chance I got kind of situation. And yeah, so moving to the call center was actually a big change. I'm always one of those people panicking. It's like I'm trying to figure out how stuff is. Okay, what's the quickest route to work from the apartment? How do I get back? 6 or 7 minutes tops. Definitely easier than dealing with Wards Road traffic, so I'm thankful for that at least. But call center, I mean, it felt like a legitimate call center, like a real nationwide is on your side, like a real feeling of a call center. The mall was great, but the thing I loved about it was on lunch, it's like, okay, man, I'm going to walk around, go to browse around TJ Maxx, see if they got any socks or ties or, interesting book. Go to FYE, check out the movies. Oh, I'm going to the comic book store, the Chick-fil-A, the food court. Good times, but when we moved over to Nationwide, man, you were just isolated. Like, there wasn't even a point of going out for lunch. It's like the nearest place, if I'm not mistaken, was like going straight up the street, like Burger King and McDonald's. That might have been like a 10-minute trip, depending on traffic. And then, get your food and come back. I always had like a snack drawer. And that's one thing I am happy about, that ever since I quit the job, I swore off of nabs and nabs. Well, we call them nabs. Not, is it called Nabisco or what? Basically, like the peanut butter crackers, the cookie and cream crackers, Scooby snacks, and just a variety of other things in the desk, because we had the cafeteria, but that was hit and miss. Good old Sodexo. But just because the food was sometimes so expensive, like I might as well just spend like in the vending machines. Oh god. Yeah, let me tell you and I might actually do a separate video, because some people were commenting, Jeremy, you talk about how you got the job. It sounds like you did an amazing job there, but at the same time I felt some disgruntledness in your personality, which I actually mentioned in my part 2 or part 1. I forgot which one I talked about. I was disgruntled, but I never let that show, especially in my my work ethic. Like, I kept up the numbers, I kept doing my job, but in my heart I'm like, this is getting so boring. And they kept talking about that in training, like every 6 months you would hit that, okay, I'm tired of this. And trust and believe, I felt that many times. But yeah, I might actually I know I keep saying this, and every time I do these videos, it's like, oh snap, but this inspiration for a separate video about maybe a video I talk about, did I ever want to quit? Yes, but that'll, and I'll just tell you one thing. Here's when I knew I was like, things aren't going. I think we were still at the mall, and I'm sorry I'm stuttering, but even thinking about this is making me upset. Liberty had the bright idea of having a Coke versus Pepsi battle about, okay, we're going to change things up. The winner, their vending machines will stay, the other ones will go. They chose Coke, meaning my beloved Mountain Dew, or my Diet Mountain Dew, Voltage, LimeWire, Livewire, the stuff that kept me awake was gone. I had to buy my own Mountain Dew and bring it to work every day. Dang it. See, drop my mic just thinking about that. Sorry about that, folks, but I still get infuriated just thinking about that. So I'm sorry I lost it. But yeah, when they got rid of that, that was one of my first times I wanted to quit. But like I said, that's his own video in itself. So we move over to the call center. Made me kind of nervous, because I remember being in a row of seats right in, like the executives, like the big wigs, like some of the assistant associate directors and stuff had, offices with glass windows, and I was seated right in front of them. They're like, oh man, because we know you're going to kill it, which I was, but I mean, it was kind of like the underlying pressure of them being right behind you. But it's like I wasn't the kind of person to have my phone out when I wasn't supposed to, so I wasn't nervous about that. It's kind of like the extra bit of social activity when you see people. Is like, okay, not to be like, again, being an introvert, it's kind of like, okay, you got to say hey to people and stuff like that. I know the people, but again, it's just like the introvert in me. And So I made it past that, and yeah, there were 2 times I wanted to quit, but that's going to be in the video. Oh wow, maybe I should tell this story. Yeah, I should tell this story. Um, I'll call it the what's the name of that? Not Armageddon, but what's it? The Purge. Basically, oh no, a bunch of people just the rapture, like the Regent University rapture. Basically, like Regent University came to town, and a bunch of people who were ready for, mind you, this was like during our, I think, like the exchange of power from one associate director of or the big wig, like the person in control of LUO, change shift to another person, and then like a bunch of changes came from that. Some people agreed with, some didn't. Whether, let me just say this, regardless of how I felt, I was still at the job. So enough said with that. And that's going to be mentioned in my why I almost quit story. But yeah, so Regent. I went to the interview. Things were looking good with the job, but I turned it down. Let me just put it this way. It was a time at Liberty when I was just ready to go. And maybe this I think my next video should definitely be times when I wanted to quit, because this is definitely the opener for that. It was just at a point where numbers didn't matter. Like, it didn't matter how, I think that like the dude in charge literally said that. Basically, I was at a point where no matter how well I did, it wasn't good enough in the sense that, you know, I felt like, you know, people would just be nitpicking like on like graded phone calls or whatever, just so I wouldn't get a perfect score. Even when I had my annual evaluations, you know, like getting like on a scale of 1 to 5, that like 5 being the best. You know, they could only give you a limited amount. Like, I remember I used to dress up like all the time, like wearing suits and whatnot, vests, the ties. And I remember like on the teams, we had like trendy Tuesdays and, you know, fancy Fridays, just to spice it up and, you know, encourage team camaraderie. It was fun. But then, you know, when I learned that you can only get a limited amount, I remember I got like a 4 or something for appearance, or just because they couldn't give me but so many 5s. And like, you know what, screw this, I was done. Like, I would wear like rotate the same polos and whatnot. I didn't care at that point. I was like, you know what, there's no point of going all out for nothing. So yeah, like I felt like Steve Harvey wearing a new suit or a different combination every day. But that's when I stopped caring. Like, my appearance was still hygienic and whatnot, don't get me wrong. I just wasn't decked out like I used to be. But then when the Regent showed up, it was kind of like, you know, almost like a Noah's Ark situation. That's a perfect analogy for Drenchburg due to all the rain, but it was kind of like a way out. And I will never forget what happened that day. So a former employee of Liberty who was at Regent was letting, you know, certain people know, like, hey, you know what, we're hiring. Regent is like an up-and-coming university. You know, we're trying to get some people over here. And the best, number one, you got to work from home. It's like you went to training for like a few weeks in like the Virginia Beach area. I think that's where Regent was located or something like that. I forgot the exact specifics, but I know you went out there for training and then you would work from home. And it sounded like, especially for an introvert like me, it sounded like a dream come true. And I, you know, fill out the application. I don't remember if I had a phone interview. I know I had an in-person interview. But yeah, it was at a hotel on Wards Road. And I remember word got back to like some of the associates at Liberty. And this was like obviously still the same seat sitting in front of like all the directors' offices. I remember one guy came back and told them about what was going on at Regent, because obviously a lot of Liberty people were over there, you know, looking at basically at the hotel. It was like a job fair kind of format where, you know, Regent had a desk set up, you know, in the lobby, and, you know, people would walk up getting information. Somebody told, and like all the directors like jumped out of their offices. It felt like, you know, a gangster mob just walking out at one time, like, oh, what the is going on here? Crazy. I had an interview that day. I think my interview was like, I couldn't be there on time. It's just like, hey, I got to work this late shift. Is it okay if I show up? You know, I didn't want to make a bad first impression. Like, no, it's fine. You can show up right after your shift. I'll let them know. And I I was hearing rumors as the day went on from this person telling me, it's like, you know what, Liberty showed up. They put a table right beside Regent, and like a lot of Liberty people were nervous because of the fact that they were standing at the Regent table, but then they were being eyeballed by the directors at Liberty who knew who they were. So it's kind of like you didn't want to be blacklisted or anything like that. And, you know, long story short, Liberty got to the point where they were taking people from the line, apparently. Like, keep in mind, I wasn't there, but I was hearing things from certain people who were there. And it was like, you know, people who were going up to Regent were being, you know, like, you know, jumped in front of by Liberty people, or people in Regent's line, you know, at the desk were being told to come over there. Basically, it was like Liberty was strong arming them. And I know this happened because I had somebody send me a picture, or actually this person posted on Facebook, that Liberty literally set a table up right beside Regent, and it was going on like I just described. It got so bad that Regent literally had to move the interviews over to the I don't know if it was like the Golden Corral or like the barbecue joint on Ward's Road, but that's where my interview was. It was like, hey, we moved the interview and like just come over when you're done with work. And it was like obviously them having to adjust, and it was a tape. I think it was like me and 6 other people that I knew because we worked together, and we were all there for Regent. And luckily for me, that was one good thing because the Liberty folks weren't there. And you know, I heard the sales pitch. It sounded convincing. I remember standing outside the restaurant with like 4 of my coworkers just talking about stuff, how things went down. And we were mostly ready to go. And I think that if memory serves, I think 2 or 3 of the people who I was talking to actually went to Regent, because the reason I didn't, let me just tell you why I didn't accept it. Because number one, I thought to myself, okay, Jeremy, if you really work from home, like basically, like I was in the mindset of, if I left this call center job at Liberty, I would not go to another call center. Like I said, if I finish this job, then I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I want to do something different. And, you know, for me, remember, this was at a time where, you know, I was just killing with the numbers, but then the numbers didn't mean it. It felt like, you know, whose line is anyway, you know, where the points don't matter. That's how I felt with the numbers. Like, I'm bringing in a ton of money. It's not doing me any good. I was just ready for the next challenge because I had already accomplished the most I could accomplish at that job. And with Regent, it's kind of like, okay, they made it sound like, you know, there will be perks, you know, you will be awarded for, you know, hitting numbers and this and that. But, you know, I kind of sat on it for a couple of days before, because they said, you know, hey, you did great in the interview. I can't remember if I was like offered the job, but I know that I was it was at a position where I could have accepted if I wanted. I can't remember the exact details. This was a couple years ago, but it was looking really good. And, I was just, something in my gut just said, don't do it. I think another reason was because of rumors. And at the end of the day, I did not let this influence my decision, but there were a lot of rumors like, you know, hey, if you quit your job, don't tell Liberty you're going to Regent because you don't have to. Oh, if you quit your job to go to Regent, they'll escort you out of the building. And I'm like, I know if I accept this job, they better not escort me anywhere. There's going to be a fight. As much as I done for this school on this job, they ain't going to like treat me like that. But then I think what really got me was the fact that they were like, hey, you get to work from home. It's comfortable. And then we grade all the calls. I'm just like, because that's, and that will lead to the next video. I talk about why I wanted to quit. I despise micromanagement. I despise it with all my heart and soul. My attitude is, if I, and this is a personality quirk, because my mom, you know how your mom don't really care when she tells you, it's like, you just got a problem where you don't like being told you're wrong. And that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. If it's an honest critique or whatever, that's different. But being told I'm wrong, there have been times on the phone where like if I'm telling the students, I'm like, oh, I think you're wrong, I will like go silent for like and collect my thoughts before I go off. And that's happened a couple times. I didn't go off, but I collected my thoughts. It just irks me. But I was just like, yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's like they said they reward you and everything, and then it's like you can, you know, you'll be set on the schedule, but the longer you work with us, we can help you with your hours and adjust it how you want. Like you can work 8 hours whenever you want to and then be done for the day. That all sounded, it just sounded too good to be true. Later on, it turns out that was the case because some of the people I know who work for Regent either don't work there anymore or back at Liberty in another job. Said they quit because of whatever reason. Basically, it wasn't what it was all cut out to be, and thank God I stuck with what I knew. My attitude was this: if it's kind of like a, you know, a long-term relationship or a marriage or whatever, it's like I know if I leave this job or whatever, if I leave this relationship and go to another one, I know I'm going to have to deal with like crap over there. It might be different crap, so I might have to readjust. I know what I'm dealing with in my current situation. I've grown numb to it. I hate it, but I've grown numb to it. So why would I leave a job I know very well to go to another job where I have to relearn everything, and then it just seems too good to be true? So I was in the mindset, like, again, I don't want to go from one call center to the next. So I stuck with my guns. I remember the day when everybody left, and it was like a huge amount of people who left for their last day. And yeah, I felt a little empty. It's like, did I do the right thing? And it turns out I did. But yeah, that was the big, like, the rapture where we had a huge amount of people leaving, and I'll never forget it. And it turns out the alleged rumors weren't true about being escorted out, because nobody got escorted out. They got their boxes and they left. So yeah, I think I was at Liberty for another year and some change before I eventually left. But yeah, Regent, I think I know in my heart I made the right decision. Thank God I did. It did sound too good to be true, and it turns out that it was. I mean, I could be wrong, but from my knowledge, I do not know anyone who left for Regent who still works at Regent. Let me just put it that way. So with that being said, I'm going to conclude part 3. Then I'll get into part 4 where things get a bit controversial. I want to talk about, because a lot of people have been commenting, it's like, yo, tell me about the times you wanted to quit. So yeah, we'll get to that soon enough.